From a heartfelt Philly, we love you, we thank you.
Praise and admiration for some of Philly's finest artists. From doo-wop to Broadway and beyond, these acting and music legends have made their mark in this city, and today their plaques were unveiled on the Philadelphia Walk of Fame on Broad Street. The voice of Philly, Miss Patty Jackson, who drew a huge outpouring of support.
We love you, Patty. We love you.
To be on this walk with so many greats, to be the first woman in radio, because I stand on the backs of many great women, and I am overjoyed.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Philly Legends Podcast. I'm Joe Callari, and today's guest is not only a Philly icon and a Philly legend, but she's been coming into your house for over 40, is it 40 years, Patty?
43.
43 years. That's insane. So from WDAS FM, Patty Jackson.
Joe, Too Cool Callari. Our Power 99 days.
Exactly. When did you start at Power?
I started at Power 86, maybe
86?
Either like 85 or 86.
Oh, you know, it's funny because I was doing an interview with Don Mack, and I said I either started in 85 or 86 there. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I knew it was about the same time that you started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me give you a little to the folks out there, because if I did all the awards that Patty has won, it would take 2 hours, and she don't have 2 hours. So just real quick, Communicator of the Year, Billboard Airplay Local Personality of the Year, March of Dimes and Favorite Radio Personality by readers of the Philadelphia Tribune, the first woman on the Philadelphia Music Alliance Walk of Fame, and then you get a street named after you in your hometown, South Philly.
Yes.
That's insane.
Philly radio legend Patty Jackson is being recognized today for her amazing career.
It is a huge day for her, and you're looking live there at a ceremony in South Philadelphia where a street is being named in her honor, a well-deserved honor, that is. Jackson grew up on the 2300 block of Ellsworth Street. From today forward, though, it will now be known as Patty Jackson Way.
What's your next plan?
Well, Joe, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book.
That's
about
awesome.
My career. I want to talk about radio. I want to talk about caretaking. I took care of my mom for 25 years.
That's awesome.
I'm a stroke survivor.
Yes.
Most caretakers get sick after their parent dies, and 2 weeks after my mother died, I suffered a stroke.
That was 2015, right?
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk about the bounce back.
Wow.
God opened up doors once, I straightened out my walk. My vision returned. God opened up a ton of doors for me to walk through.
Well, you know what? God has a good sense of judgment, because, when I think of you, I get an instant smile, because your positivity for as long as I've known has been out front and shining.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm not saying that because you're on the show with me. I'm saying that because that's for real.
Yeah.
And I just always remember the positivity that you gave out. And we all know what you give out, that's what you get back.
Is what you get back. I've been blessed. I know it may sound strange, but the stroke was actually one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Wow.
Because I had to rebuild my life, and God really rebuilt my life, and he pushed me into videos. I got into this business. I was just a girl from South Philly, Joe, that wanted to be on the radio. And now I'm doing videos and things like that. So,
TV shows. I mean, I see you all over the place, and it's awesome. I mean, it could not have happened to a better person. So you made it easy for God. I love God like you too.
Yes.
But he looks down and says, "Yep, there's one of my good ones." To me, he's like, I don't know. He's got some rough edges on him. Still a work in progress, but I'm closer to 70 than I am to 60.
Yeah,
and a lot closer, as a matter of fact. And listen, like you, I've just had a great time, and to be able to make money doing what you love
It's so
is,
important.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's incredible. So what was South Philly like for you growing up?
Growing up for me, it was fun. We'd run down the street like the Mod Squad chasing the SEPTA buses. There was a closeness, there was a community that just made you proud to say, I'm from South Philly. All the neighbors knew each other. It was just that real sense of community. You knew your neighbor. I was learning how to drive, and I remember they would come outside. No, you turned the car wrong, Patty. No, turn it this way. And I would get so mad. Like, can y'all go back in the house, please? I remember when Elvis Presley died,
Wow.
and I was like the town crier. And I was like, Elvis Presley died. And no one wanted to believe me. I said, they just said it on the news. And so I was the town crier, and then really did become the town crier. But I remember the woman saying, you shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, yes, I do. Elvis Presley died.
So that the 411 and anti
started with Elvis.
It all started
with the
before the names came about.
Yes.
And boy, have you, like, people in Philadelphia, they don't know how lucky they are. Just an incredible, just the things that you've put out in the community over the years that most people, it's just part of their day. And it's incredible. I'm glad to know you.
I love what I do. And I was that kid growing up in South Philly. I just wanted to be on the radio.
Now, what was your first radio gig?
My first radio gig was WSSJ in Camden, January 24th, 1982. It was a snowstorm, and because I lived in South Philly, I could walk to Broad Street, and because everything underground runs if it snows. Get on the Broad Street line to take me to Patco. Patco takes you into Jersey. Everything ran underground, so I was able to get to work.
Right. What, were you interning there?
No.
Stuttering.
Well, I was interning there in the news department, and somebody didn't show up for work, and I did.
It's the age-old story, isn't it?
Yeah, I could do it. I was terrible, but they liked me. I was really bad. I sounded like a kid. I was 18 years old, and I sounded like a kid, but they liked me, and they worked with me.
That's awesome. So many people started from there. Well, you had WCAM.
Yeah, many people started at their radio
Blavitt
station.
And Pantano and
Gary Shepard.
Yeah.
They all came through.
Yep.
WSSJ.
That's insane. And tell me about your relationship with Butter.
God, he was just the greatest mentor just in life. He not only taught me about records, but taught me about life and how to navigate and how your attitude will affect your altitude. He was a good person. People loved him, and they loved him for a reason because he was a good guy.
Yep.
And he told the best stories, and he knew the best restaurants, and I was in heaven.
The stories were insane.
Yes.
I was lucky enough. I had put a deal together with Escape, and it was a Thursday night oldies night. And I called Butter and I said, listen, what do you think about doing an oldies night over in Jersey? And, if I could put it together and get you with the owner and you can get paid what you want to get paid. He was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went and did it and got the owner involved, and he came over and met with them. And we wound up doing that show from there for 4 years. It was packed from day one to the day we left. And then we went to Pegasus for another 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And just working with Butter for me, as a kid listening to Butter, it was like Christmas. So I got to hear those stories from him.
Yeah.
And
Great story.
oh my God, great stories. And
Mhm.
we would do the track acts, and we brought in Blue Magic and GQ and a lot of other of the local groups, the Delphonics and the Intruders. And I would just say, Butter, do you know anybody with Blue Magic? Yeah, of course. I used to be their manager. I'm like, I learned so much. And the way everybody respected him. I mean,
Yes.
even today when I have discussions with people and I bring up Butter, the smile from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I mean, he must have been a character back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a character then, but
back in the day, traveling with the Beatles, when the Beatles first came to America, he
I
was
know.
there to greet them.
Wow.
So it did. An incredible career. I wish he could have written a book
Yeah,
because he did
absolutely.
have stories to tell.
And he loved you.
You know what? I was like a diamond in the rough in my enthusiasm and love of music. And he had been teaching me since day one. I thought I wasn't ready to take over Sunday night where we
Right.
do the oldies, but he'd been teaching me all along to sit in that chair.
Wow. I mean, that's an honor in itself.
It
So
is.
so now you've actually, I don't know if you can become level with just the memory, but status. I mean, he's a legend. He was a living legend. You're a living legend. It's incredible his sight for you, and it came to fruition.
Yeah, it did. I mean, he really poured into me, Joe. And
Wow.
it's so important to have mentors.
Yeah.
And he saw it, whatever it was.
Yep.
He saw it and poured into me.
Yeah, that's incredible to have somebody like that take you under their wing.
Yeah.
But listen, he had been around for a long time, and so he knows all the ins and outs of everything.
Yeah.
He was just a great guy. Extremely, I loved playing music because he would say to me, "Hey Joe, pull this out, pull this out, pull this out," and I learned so much. And that, I mean, listen, I'm a music guy. I love music and been playing music since I was a child. But when you get an icon like that standing next to you, and he's saying, "Flip the song over and play the B side," and you're just like, "Wow!" So it was definitely a highlight for me to be around him.
Yeah. A
Absolutely.
blessing. A blessing indeed.
Yep, absolutely. So when you were doing Power 99,
Mm-hmm.
you went to Q102 next.
No, actually, I went to WDAS.
Oh, and then you went to Q
Then
and
I
then
went
back.
to Q. Then I
Yeah.
went back
See,
to WDAS.
I don't remember this stuff. I knew there was a caveat in there. What was the difference between formats, or didn't the formats matter when
The
you?
formats did matter, but Power 99 was in the streets for real.
Right.
Q102 knew how to build the hype that they were in the streets. But they
Right.
weren't really about the community, but they were needed because it forced Power 99. You ever hear that saying, um, or get off the pot? It
Yep.
made them get off the pot and embrace hip hop like they should have.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember that transition because
Yeah.
I had actually went to Q102 for, I guess, about a little bit under a year, and then they brought me back to Power. That's back when Clear Channel bought everything,
Yeah.
and Dave was going back and forth and doing what he does. Dave played a big part in everything
Yeah.
that I did, no
An
doubt.
amazing programmer.
Yes.
An
Yep.
amazing programmer. It was an interesting part of music
Yeah.
because you had your pop hip hop, then you had your real hard hip hop.
Yes.
So it was an interesting transition. And when they all became one,
Yeah.
when the owner just said, "You are all together now," it forced the radio stations to split. You go in your corner, you go in your corner.
Yeah.
But a radio station like Q102 was needed.
Yeah. And I like I said, I worked there. I think Glenn was the program director. Kalina.
Glenn Kalina.
Yep. And I wasn't there that long, but it was fun because it opened up my playing where I could play more of the freestyle.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, still all the hip hop. And we kind of did that anyway, even on Power. I think that's why the Saturday night was number one for, I don't know, decades. But because we always played like the variety. We would play the old school, the hip hop, the hardcore hip hop, mainstream hip hop.
Yeah.
We did it all. And of course, having Don with us too, that was a big addition. And we had a lot of fun, a lot of years.
Mm.
You must have interviewed. It was. You must have interviewed just about everybody.
Almost. Almost.
Who was your favorite? Who was the one that surprised you?
Lionel Richie.
Really?
Lionel Richie felt like family, and we finally met. He said, "We're family." It was just like talking to a cousin. Like we knew each other forever, and he told great stories, and we just really, really clicked.
Wow.
Patty Austin, I felt like I was looking in the mirror because she was so much like me. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Two icons. I did meet Lionel Richie. I never met Patty Austin, but but I did meet Lionel Richie, one of the backstage things in Philly. And he was a very kind person. The one that, did you ever interview Anita Baker?
I have, and I've been in the company of Anita Baker.
Okay.
And I always had a good rapport with her.
All right.
She invited me to dinner. I went. But she definitely had another side.
Yes.
There was another side too.
Well, everybody used to say that. And I remember I was a Billboard reporter. And I had a thing that she was at Valley Forge Music Fair. And she had the reputation of being kind of edgy.
Yeah.
And she was like the sweetest thing that I ever met. It was incredible. Now, again, she canceled her whole show. She was supposed to be there for like 3 or 4 days. She did one show and canceled the rest. Oh. So I was lucky enough to get there on that night.
Yeah.
And she was a sweetheart. Now, listen, I guess maybe she can have that edge. That's why I asked you, because I always wondered, you don't get a chance to talk to everybody or talk to somebody every day about somebody like Anita Baker.
She did have a different side, but I was very fortunate that she didn't show that to me.
Right.
I've been around other people that she showed it to, but I was spared, and I never saw that with her.
Wow. Now, did you have an opportunity to meet Michael Jackson?
Never met Michael Jackson, and the year he died, I was hoping. I was so ready for that tour.
Okay.
I was so ready and could not believe that he died.
Yeah. It's hard for me to even, everything seems so surreal now. Because I haven't spun a record in 10 years.
Wow.
I in 2015, when you had your stroke, I had open heart surgery in 2015.
Okay.
Bypass. And that ended my late nights in the nightclubs.
Ooh.
So I haven't really spun any. I still do editing and things of that nature.
Things like that, but no more clubs.
No more clubs. I ended that like real quick. And that was a tough recovery. I'm sure your recovery
took a while.
It was like 11 months before I felt subnormal. Okay. But, came all the way back, thank God. And, it is what it is. So on the music end, here's a question for you. Everybody usually says, who's your favorite group? Being a record guy, if you had to start a record collection today, who would be some of the first artists you'd put in it?
Wow. I'm an old school girl. You know, I love Music Soul Child. You know,
Yeah.
So miss Luther Vandross.
Yeah.
So miss, you know, his voice. I miss groups. You know, nowadays you don't really get groups.
That's right.
But I miss groups. So I would probably put Boyz II Men or Jodeci.
Yeah.
You know, there were so many great artists that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, there was.
That was good.
We had Casey and JoJo at the club at Escape.
How was that?
That was phenomenal.
Okay.
And they were really good guys.
Yeah.
They were really good guys. They thought I was in the mafia. I had walked in upstairs and they thought I was the owner.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were all like, oh. And I'm like, listen, I'm just a dumb DJ. I'm not in the mafia.
I like that story.
Yeah, I'm none of those things. And they were just really cool guys. Put on a great show. It was phenomenal. I think I wound up getting the connection through Butter.
Okay.
I had to get somebody. Yeah, I had them there, and the place was mobbed. It was just insane. Some of the things. Yeah. If you didn't get into broadcasting, what do you think you would have done?
I wanted to be a school teacher.
Really?
I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a school teacher.
Right.
Then I wanted to be Donna Summer because she was like my favorite. She's my favorite.
She was awesome.
Then I thought I wanted to be Salt and Pepper. But when I shaved half of my head off, my father was like, "What are you doing?" You know, but I wanted to be a school teacher growing up. And that's what I thought that I would wind up doing, being a school teacher.
I thought that you would have said chef.
You know what? I love to cook.
Yeah.
But I never thought of it as a career.
Well,
I've
had that peach cobbler.
Home. Yeah, but
I've had that.
I love cooking at home. I do. I get such a joy in my kitchen.
Wow. What else? What other dishes do you like to cook?
I love to make a lot of pasta dishes. I make a very good macaroni and cheese.
Nice.
I love the baked cakes.
See, I love to cook too.
Yeah, I like simple dishes that don't take a long time. You know, how you come home after a long day, you want to put together something, but it's good and it's nice.
That's awesome. I mean, I love cooking. My girlfriend says that I'm the best cook she's ever seen.
Wow.
And I love cooking Italian.
Okay.
And I love baking. I make my own candy.
You do?
I do. Yeah, I have little molds for the chocolates, and for Valentine's Day, I made all of the candy for my girlfriend, all of it. I mean, chocolate covered bacon. Did you ever have that?
Never had that.
It's insane.
Okay. Okay.
But I did all the candy.
How long did that take?
It took me a couple days.
Okay.
Yeah, it took me a couple days. It's fun, and I think it's just all part of the creating end. You know, once I can't get out there and run around the clubs and stuff like that, I got to create different ways. Create things in the kitchen. That's it. And that's why I decided to, actually my girlfriend was the one that said, you should do a podcast. You know a lot of people. You're pretty easy to talk to. What the hell? And you started it. That's so good, stepping out on faith. Yes, I did. You buy all your little equipment. It's the editing part of it that can be challenging. Yes. So I'm teaching myself. Listen, I think I was a really good audio editor, so it's not that far off. Okay. It's not really that far off from audio. So, well, listen, I know that you're crunched for time, and I appreciate you more than you will ever know. It's so good to talk with you. I hope we can do it again. We'll have part two. Yes, we can. I promise you I can do a part two. Awesome. Those days back there were a unique time in music, in music history, and of course radio, because Joe, it's totally different today. Yeah.
It's totally different. I
Yep.
saw Dave Allen. I talked to him occasionally. I said, "Would you ever get back in the radio?" And he said, "No way." He said, I'm fine over here at St. Joe's."
Well, I had talked to him over the summer. My girlfriend's daughter went to St. Joe's.
Okay.
And so I had called him. I said, I happen to know a professor over at St. Joe's.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with Dave, and he's always gracious.
Yeah.
And I mean, here's the other thing before we say goodnight. One thing, Dave, yourself, Butter, and all the people that I've had on so far, you all have something in common.
What?
You're all overachievers. And I think that's the common thread for anybody who gets that title of legendary.
Well, when you get a job you love, you'll never feel like you're working.
And this is true. This is so true.
And I do think that that's my case because I love what I do.
And it shows. And I was a little nervous starting this.
Why?
Well, it's just like, I said this to Butter one time, and he gave me a great answer. I said to him, "You ever get nervous anymore when you're doing a radio show?" And he said, "In the beginning, before we start, I still have that little nervous feeling."
Okay.
And he said, "And if you don't have that nervous feeling, it's time for you to stop doing the show."
Great point. Great
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
So, I thought to myself, and, I go through all the things in my head. And I guess if you're not a little bit nervous, then you don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he meant. But I'm proud to have known him and to work with him for the short amount of time that we had. And I'm thankful to God that I've met you.
Oh, thank you.
And Philadelphia is blessed to have you on their airways.
Well, thank you.
And I appreciate the time. I really do.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Fatty.
Thank you, Joe, too. Cool Callari. Our days in Power 99.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Fatty.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Philly Legends Podcast.